Hi everyone, my name is Annie. If you haven't met me before, I'm an illustrator and sometimes I do realistic paintings. Most of the time I do stylized work, but I thought I would share today how I do a painting of a pet, or really any photo, but I like using a cat because a lot of people have, a pet, and it might be something nice to do is to do a painting of your own pet one day. Especially since we love them so much and they may not live forever, sadly. So here's a way you can commemorate them. I have my paints here. I have a photo off to the side, and I'm just going to show you the process of how to paint in watercolor very simply. So we're going to start with the lightest color first. So in my picture of this cat, it's a white cat. I will somehow share the photo somewhere, but I'm going to do a very light brown, kind of like a vanilla color with a little bit of yellow in there. And wet into wet is whenever your watercolor space is wet and you add color back in and it kind of bleeds out. So I'm gonna pick a pink because there's some little bits of pinkishness, pinky, like in her paws. And I'm gonna use a little bit of red. I thought I had some pink, but I think that's okay if it's not. I might just use like a red. Kind of in her paws right here. I'm gonna add a little bit in her face. Definitely some in her nose and in her ear here. And I'm just kind of being a little bit liberal with it, This is the bottom layer, so all of this will kind of shine through. Okay, I kind of made a boo-boo because I tried to put this in before it was dry, and that's what happens. So that's why we must wait, but you know what? It'll be okay. I'll figure it out. Okay, now I'm adding this olive green color in there because that's the background of Lulu's beautiful eyes. And we're gonna get some stuff in this area because there's nothing in there. Right now it's like a black, dark void. So I'm gonna add some brown. And I don't think that with watercolor it matters too much your tools, although the better your tools, the probably more fun you'll have and the less issues you'll come up with. But I think like the main thing that you want to make sure you have a good quality is paper. Otherwise you can paint, you can do a lot with kind of, mid-grade brushes. I wouldn't do anything with the super synthetic brushes in like a kid's watercolor set that you buy for $5. But the Crayola set has usually a decent brush. This is Windsor Newton. They have nice brushes, but I don't think it was that expensive. And excuse me, I think that the watercolors themselves, I used to paint a lot with Crayola watercolors. But I invested in some nicer ones, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. You can do a lot. If you don't have the money or the time to invest in nicer stuff, just make sure you get decent paper. This is Fabriano paper. Yes, it can be a little pricey, but it makes a huge difference to have nice paper. You can also get like a Canson is not my favorite, but they have some higher grade papers that are okay. Strathmore's good. And then of course Arches is amazing, but very, very pricey, and sometimes it's a little funky, so sometimes I don't even like Arches, but you can definitely feel the quality with Arches. Sometimes it's too high quality. Okay, and now, so I kind of stopped what I'm doing, but I'm being a little bit aggressive, but I'm going in here with some darker browns. I'm still staying fairly light. This will dry lighter than it is, so it's not like crazy. And I'm just going in, kind of giving it some pattern. I like to almost draw with the watercolor, but I don't want to go over and over and over the same spot. That will tear up the paper. So just be mindful of that. If it's dark area, just go straight to black, things like that. But I like having a little bit of this this thing where the colors, different colors are showing through, because I think that that's really how like skin works and fur works, is there's lots of things happening, lots of light. There's skin underneath all of this fur. So imagine like the color of her skin, you know, maybe that's showing through a little bit. Maybe not so much in this cat because she's got tons of hair. Yeah, I think I'm not gonna be too crazy, but I think her face kind of is in shadow for the most part. There's like a really bright light over here, so I'm gonna leave that. I'm not gonna touch it. And then I need just a little bit more actual gray. We're gonna go in here and there. Oh, that might have been too much. Here. Oh, she kind of does have that gray going on. And there is a shadow in the eyes, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in, because her eyeballs are in the socket, and so there's a shadow going over it. And I'll probably need to go back in there soon with more. Okay, let's see if I can add a little bit right here. That was probably too soon. The color might end up spreading out and it not looking like an actual line. It might look like a tunnel, but I'm not gonna worry about it too much. Okay, you can see how dark that ear is. I kind of went crazy with that. So I'm gonna let this dry and then we're gonna go back in just a second. Okay, the sun is moving into this picture, so I moved it over a little bit. We'll see how long I have until I need to finish it tomorrow. But let's get my photo back up. Okay, now we're going to, it's pretty much dry, so we're going to start on our next layer, and that's going to be, I'm not gonna worry about the blanket right now, but I'm gonna go back in and get a little bit darker grays and probably some browns. So I'm gonna do two things. So here's my gray. And one thing about watercolor that's interesting is you could use the same color gray, but if you're layering it over, it is gonna be darker. So you can think of it as almost like pieces of gel papers that, you know, if you have 5 of the same color green, but you stack them all together, it's gonna be dark. So you don't necessarily always have to make a darker version of the color. You might just need another layer. That's my tip there. Okay, and I'm gonna go in here and start adding a little bit, oh, see, I like that line. A little bit of the marks for hair, just to give it some texture. I'm gonna go in kind of underneath. And then this is gonna be black, but I'm gonna add gray for now and kind of get into that blanket. We're gonna get into her paw. And let's see, this part's light, but the part right above it is darker as it kind of curves around. And then this is kind of her little arm. Okay, and I want to define her chin a little bit more because it's pretty defined in the image. So I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna just add some little marks outward because that's the direction of her fur. I'm always going in the direction of her fur because I'm kind of drawing with the paint as well as painting the colors. That's how I like to do it. And she does have quite a bit of gray on her nose, which we'll probably go back in and do it darker in just a second, but we'll just put like a light gray for now. Let's get a little bit more in the eyes, a little bit more, and just a little bit right here. A lot more on this cheek. And notice I'm trying not to go into the paper and like go over and over and over and over because that will just strip the paper. And the paper doesn't like that. Okay, this is gonna be black too because she has a cute little black spot. I'm tempted to just go in there and get it really dark, but I wanna be kind of methodical with this right now because I think that makes more sense if I'm showing my process. Sometimes I could break the rules, but the thing is when you know the rules, then you know when you can break the rules. So cliche, but it's true in art. Because the rules are things like, how does paint work? And then when you know, you can break some of the rules. Okay. So I'm getting in some of the darker grays in there, which is good, but I'm not going too dark. And I'm just gonna add some rough gray over here for texture and also because I just don't want her sitting on like a white space. Okay, is there anything I need to do in here? Probably. Let's get a little bit more gray. Now I am gonna take this really, it's a brush that's definitely struggling. It used to be a nice brush, it's a Prismacolor brush. But I'm gonna go in here and get a little bit more pink / red. I used to have pink, but I don't know if I have it now. And I'm too tired or too lazy to go get it out of my bin. It's probably a little too dark. But I'm just gonna pop in a little bit more pink in her nose so that when we do like a gray or a black over it, it will be there. It kind of goes up there. And she has a little bit of red in here too, so I'm just gonna do that. Well, oh, she has the pink there already. Okay, and then I'm gonna take my brown, my brownish orange. It's like a sepia color that's, I'll plop it over here with my gold, just so it stays really nice and warm, but it's pretty close to what she is. Some browns are very cool, but this is like a really warm orangey sepia. And I'm just gonna go in now and start defining some of her sweet little brown spots around her eyes. And I'm gonna leave the brush strokes. So again, at this point, I feel like I am drawing with paint. Drawing with paint. And I think the key to making the brush strokes look natural is to vary your pressure. So sometimes you're doing very light pressure, sometimes you're doing darker pressure, but you don't want to kind of just make everything very uniform. Now here, I'm saying that as I'm making something very uniform. That's because I want to actually fill this ear in because it's a little bit, it needed some brown tone. But here, we're gonna go back to some And this eye's kind of muddy. It's gonna go in there. I'm gonna define it with some black eventually, so I'm not too worried about it. It's okay if things are kind of muddy as long as the colors are in the right spot. Okay, and she's got some really cute brown around her nose. This is more of a shape and there's less like little brush strokes, but I'm still gonna go in here and just kind of give it texture like wherever I see the brown. And see, we have that nice tone underneath it, so it's not naked, it's not white underneath there. Okay, it's probably sufficient. So I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll probably work a little bit in here just to bring the tone back. This is like a quilt. Actually, I can add some of this blue right now. This blue square is also kind of right here. So, and it's dry, so I can be pretty bold, pretty confident with placing that. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let it dry and then we'll come back. Hello and welcome back. I have this light on the painting, but hopefully it's not too distracting. So here we go. We're gonna pick up where we left off yesterday. And I'm gonna start getting some gray, darker grays in here. So I'm mixing in my palette and I'm gonna just touch in, oops, that's kind of bluish. I'm gonna add a little bit of brown in there to warm it up. And I'm gonna get in some, again, I'm using those marks to get some kind of movement and the idea of fur. I'm gonna go up against this card. Okay, I'm gonna go, let's see, I'm gonna go underneath her little booty and maybe a little bit right around the edge. And into her tail. And probably a little bit right here. It's kind of nice to look at this with fresh eyes because I can see everything a little bit better than I did yesterday. Because sometimes when you're staring at things long and you're working on it, you just kind of lose a sense of maybe some, like where the tone is or things like that. Okay. And I'll extend some of this gray kind of into here. Now, I want a little bit of a background just around Lulu's head. And there's a slight purple thing going on. So let's see, I really need to clean my palette. But I'm gonna go over here and just get kind of like a grayish purple and I'm gonna define that edge. And the way I like to do backgrounds if I'm doing, if I want it to kind of fade out is I'm gonna put in the color. I'll just show you on this side. Okay, and then I'm gonna wash my brush, kind of dab it, and then clean the edge here. I have a little bit of brown in my water. I need clean water, desperately. I'm gonna go do that in just a second. And this may not make a big difference right now, which is totally fine, because I'm gonna go in and define things with some colored pencil at the end, but it just gives it a little bit of a sense of place and it helps those whites pop because now the only white that's left is like that really bright spot on her right side. And that means that this over here probably needs a little bit of tone. So I'm gonna add actually some of this purple. to tone it down. Okay, I'm gonna get some clean water. I'll be right back. Okay, dokie. Now I'm gonna touch back into the eyeballs. I wanna get a little bit of a blue here now in this olivey green. And now I'm going to really get into the grays / blacks. So I'm gonna come over here and get a little bit of brown in there because I don't want it to be too cool. And Lulu has these really great marks on her nose. She's got like a pretty dark spot right here. And it goes into her nose on the side there. And then this line kind of goes up. Okay, I'm liking where this is going, and this card still needs a lot more detail, but I think the next step is to, well, I'm gonna do a couple little things just to kind of push this back and blend it. I'm gonna take my darker blacks, my like darker grays, do a couple more layers, and then I'm gonna get my color pencils out and start digging in. So I'll be back in a second with that. Okay, I'm gonna get in some darker grays here. I'm gonna go now into that eye. So there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to get my color pencils out. This is a ochre, burnt ochre. And this is kind of a little bit more reddish, but this is nice too. A Venetian red. That might be too red. But I'm gonna go in here with the ochre, and I'm gonna get some darker. Now I could do this with watercolor, but I love the texture that it gives. And it also just kind of feels nice when I'm doing detail work to have a little bit of, like a little more control. Whereas watercolor to me is very out of control. So, and they blend, they just, I think, look really nice together. But mainly I love it for the texture. Get that in their eye. And you can see it's like kind of the same color as that brown that was there. Now I have to be careful. Sometimes I'll want to go crazy with this, but I kind of think there's definitely a place where it's too much, and then it just starts to feel like a color pencil drawing for the whole thing. And it's honestly getting a little bit close to that. All right, I'm gonna get, oops. Okay, now I feel like I have all those medium tones in. I'm going to go back in with the really black blacks, which will be really fun. So, now's the time. Kind of feeling like we're on the last, 15% or something. This might be too big a brush to do. All right, now I'm gonna take the smaller brush and get a few more details. So that actually might be a little too dark. That's nice. And this, we kind of need that top back in there. It's like stuff you see later on to like define that jaw. It's amazing how it's like, oh yeah, that's why it's looking weird. It's because I need to get in there and put a little bit of tone right there. Okay, we're getting there. I'm seeing some stuff in the ear. It's like once you bring in your darks, then sometimes you see where those midtones are a little off. And I think it's just all a part of the process. You're seeing as you paint, It all kind of has to work together and come together, and it sometimes takes a little bit of time to get to the right place. Okay, I'm gonna let her dry, and in the meantime, I'm gonna go in here. And this is an ink pen. I love this ink pen so much. I can't wait to buy another one. When I have to buy another one, I'm gonna buy like 4 of them, because it's just my favorite. It's a Tombow something. It's a Japanese pen for Japanese calligraphy, I believe. here, behind the kitty. And it's supposed to be some red stuff happening. Ooh, we'll just do some wet into wet. It's like some psychedelic stuff. That's what this kind of looks like. It's like chakras and psychedelic stuff. Okay, and this is supposed to be brown. And there's probably supposed to be a little bit of brown on the kitty somewhere because she is a calico, the one that's in this image. So let's just get a little bit of brown in her too. Oh, I know. I guess these are probably corresponding to chakras, but they're all pentacles because this is probably the 6 of Pentacles in a cool cat tarot book or some tarot card deck. That's probably what I'm guessing. Okay, that's looking better. That has a little bit more happening. Oops. Okay, now I'm gonna take this ink pen again and I'm gonna go through here and get the details that I want. And then I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of white in a second. Okay, and then the quilt underneath her doesn't really have, like, I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's nothing really going on in there right now. So I'm going to add like a little bit of tone. Maybe a little bit of wet into wet. Just because there is a pattern in there, but I don't want to go too crazy. I'm gonna make like a toned down blue. Yeah, that's nice. I have to be careful, because I just put it by that brown, that orangey brown, so I don't wanna. That's me playing, look, see? I knew it was gonna happen. Once I did it, I knew it. So same with this side, I gotta be careful. There's a way though. There's a way to like not touch the other side. Kind of blend it together, just a hair. And then I'll go back in here with this and at least get like pattern thing happening. It's okay if this is all a little bit airy. Loose. I like loose. And then I'm gonna get my white paint. I'm gonna use acrylic. You can use gouache too, just something that's opaque. Doesn't really matter too much. At least I don't think it matters at all. Well, she has white right here on her little knuckle. Her wrist. It's like a cat wrist. There's some on the edges of these. So cute. And I don't do too much with whiskers. I like to add in a couple because I think that they do help show, you know, like cats have a lot of whiskers. They help show what's going on with the cat and they're realistic, but I don't do too much. Like I'm not going to do every single whisker. I'm going to do a few that are really catching the light. She does have quite a few coming out here, so I'm going to maybe put like 4. And I'm not going to worry about them showing up too much. The key to doing very fine lines is to put just enough paint on your paintbrush. See, that's crappy. And sometimes your paint needs to be watered down just enough so that it's creamy and moves. You don't want like too dry of a brush. And put like a couple catching the light out here. That's pretty much there. That's pretty much done. I'm going to sharpen a colored pencil and just get a little bit of definition. Like a little bit of an outline on that edge, because this is a drawing, so I can do whatever feels right. And I feel like that would just help define her. All right, Lulu, cutie, cutie. You could go and do this part with paint, but I'm just gonna get some shadow under her wrist. Maybe a little bit under the card. And this is actually like another part of the quilt. So I'm gonna get like a line in there. And this is just a hint of a pattern. This it's abstract and I don't actually know what it is, but we're just gonna do like a hint of some kind of. Maybe I'll go in there with a little bit of this brown and just. Okay. I'm gonna do the last little color pencil touches and then I'll share the final product. Okay, there's the finished product. And I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. And happy painting.